What's up everyone? So today we've just gone 2 for 2 on NQ shorts or MNQ due to the contract sizing. We've been logged at a top step, so these are the screenshots from our Telegram of the trades. So instead of actually just going through the live chart, we're gonna have to walk you through the screenshot from our Telegram. We'll pop in a just a screenshot here from the chat now, just to prove that these actually are our trades and that we did call them. Right, so when we normally open a chart or we're looking for a trade around in and around market open, this is what we like kind of typically look for. Obviously, we have, of course, the disclaimer at the bottom. Of course, there are other confluences and models we use, which obviously things that can be added on top of this, such as a liquidity sweep with a failure to distribute above or below it, which can also then be used as a total soup as well if we get the change in state delivery. But for example, we do use other confluences and models, but this is essentially our kind of day-to-day model, kind of a simple checklist that we do like to see to kind of make it like a top tier setup. So we like to kind of see price tag and deliver from a PD array, a sweep of liquidity or an SFP, which could obviously then be the liquidity sweep, failure to displace above or below the high or the low. An SMT, of course, is an added bonus or added confluence in our direction. An inverse fair value gap to kind of signal the reversal with a break of structure. And clear targets as draws and liquidity, whether that be previous day high or low, previous session high or low, LRO or trendline liquidity that hasn't been tagged yet. And essentially, this is what we kind of look for when we just kind of open the chart and looking for a simple trade. Right, so this was our first trade. It was a NQ or MNQ short going into New York, which was actually, I believe it was as market opened, which is what allowed us to hit full TP. What it was is price ended up manipulating higher during London, and refilling the kind of bearish 15-minute gap, which price had been failing to invert since yesterday. We ended up seeing delivery into it during London, but a sweep and failure to invert of it, which also ended up tagging this 5-minute bearish gap, which was also a failure to invert. We then saw a leg down fill of this 1-minute and 5-minute imbalance, bullish delivery into it, but we saw a bearish retest, which also then saw a break of structure out of it. So we had this 1-minute gap here. The price ended up failing to invert on a bearish retest, which also gave us added confluence on this short after we saw the 5-minute and 1-minute inversion here. Break even at this internal low, and full TP was obviously at London's low here. Just a short trade. I believe it was a 1 to 2.3 R, and pretty clean and short trade going to New York Open. Right, so this was our second trade. As you can see, this is the candle that allowed us to hit full TP on our first trade, which allowed us to also mitigate London's low. But basically, what we're not able to show you right now because of top step, so that basically market opened, and from this bearish delivery here, which happened through pre-market, it was evident that the ES was basically battling to go down. NQ was basically the leader in the downside momentum. ES was basically battling to invert any gaps and all that sort of stuff, and we could see that ES wanted to go higher and NQ obviously did not. Market opened, ES ended up manipulating significantly higher. It was to these highs, but basically failed to take out London's high. So then that counted as another bearish retest. We then started to see bearish delivery out of ES, as NQ obviously did not chase and failed to invert this 2-minute gap here, although ES was basically trying to mitigate London's high. ES failed to mitigate London's high, failed to even sweep it. We ended up seeing a 2-minute a 2-minute inverse fair value gap to the downside, which gave ES that basically give ES that momentum to the NQ that momentum to the downside that we wanted. We ended up basically protecting this 2-minute gap here, using it as fills. And basically what we kind of took was basically just a short momentum trade, purely off instinct, off of how NQ had been reacting to ES. Now that ES had given NQ basically the trigger it needed to go down after seeing a few inversions, NQ had the fuel to go lower. And basically after yesterday's strong buy side move, it was clear to us that the move, like even if it was a small fraction of it, had to be mitigated before we were to leg higher. We had no clear mitigation of even price moving anywhere near discount of yesterday's range. So we knew that it was at some point today, before we leg higher, price had to mitigate some of that leg. So ES manipulated higher, NQ failed to manipulate higher, failed to inverse this 2-minute fair value gap. ES gave the inversion that we wanted to and then delivered lower after the manipulation, after failing to sweep out London's high. And yeah, basically gave NQ the fuel to go lower, respecting the gap, and basically took out this low here, took out London's low, and basically just mitigated a whole bunch of low time frame lows. And full TP was here for a nice 1 to 2.3 R, just a quick in and out momentum trade. And yeah, we were quite happy with that. So if we just basically just draw this up on TradingView, this small dotted line here on both signifies New York Open. So what we can see, basically what we were just talking about for that trade, is that, so essentially market opened, and as you can see, ES significantly legged higher, it impulsed higher, but failed to basically sweep this level and London's high. NQ had taken out London's low at the open here, which for ES was all the way down here. ES manipulated higher, drew towards London's high but failed to mitigate it. NQ London's high was here but failed to even inverse this 2-minute bearish fair value gap. As NQ was essentially running here, ES was essentially running all the way up here, manipulating buyers in to basically bait them in long. NQ failed to even inverse this gap. So for us, purely off instinct, we were like, well, you know what, this might be the time that we mitigate some of that leg. Especially after yesterday's New York Open, where price basically just rallied and just didn't slow down, barely gave buyers any time to enter, apart from the first retest of a buy side fair value gap, which basically marked the bottom of the day. So a lot of people probably thought that we were going to see the same playbook today, but no chance without mitigating some of that leg. So then essentially ES failed to make a sweep here, failed to even sweep this high here. 2-minute inverse fair value gap, which was then obviously what gave NQ the steam to basically roll over and take out a bunch of low time frame lows here as draws on liquidity. Now we're just kind of seeing barcode chop here, so we'll have to sit back and see how price plays out the rest of the day. Right, so that's the end of the episode. Just 2 quick recaps here for both trades we ended up taking today in and around New York Open. We hope you enjoyed, and if you want the link to our free Telegram, where obviously we talk about everything to do with crypto, futures and whatnot, just daily updates and everything, don't forget to comment join and we'll send you the link, because YouTube doesn't let us put the link in the description. So if you would like to join, just make sure to comment and we will comment reply with the link to the Telegram. Yeah, hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next episode.